Welcome back to Smart Stock Sam, the channel where data does the talking and the charts never lie. Today, we are breaking down what I believe is the single most compelling asymmetric trade setup heading into the week of March 16th. We are talking about Bitmine Immersion Technologies, ticker BMNR, that just made new major investments, which could send this thing on a significant rally. New price targets, new catalysts, new institutional conviction. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening beneath the surface, where the key levels are, and how to think about positioning for the week ahead. So if you have ever wondered what it looks like when Wall Street quietly corners a market before the rest of the world notices, buckle up, because that is exactly what we are watching unfold right now. Let's start with the big picture, because before you can appreciate why this trade is so interesting, you have to understand what makes it asymmetric. Asymmetric means the downside is capped by hard data, while the upside remains explosive. BMNR has three distinct engines running simultaneously. First, there is a structural price floor at $18.68, where institutional capital has been aggressively defending the stock. Second, there is a powder keg of short interest and derivative positioning that is ready to ignite the moment the right trigger is pulled. And third, there is a fundamental revenue engine targeting over $259 million in annualized network revenue. Most retail investors look at a volatile ticker like this and see chaos. What I see is a coiled spring that is wound tighter with every passing day. The question is not whether it releases. The question is whether you are positioned when it does. Now let me show you why that floor at $18.68 is not just a number I drew on a chart. Last week was a bloodbath for the broader market. We got a disastrous jobs report, oil was spiking, and most assets were in a full tailspin. The macro gravity on everything was brutal, and yet BMNR never touched that $18.68 level, not once. Instead, it held a higher low structure, finding its bottom at $19.27. Think about what that means. While the world was panic selling, the biggest players on Wall Street were standing at that $18.68 level with their hands out, refusing to let the price drop any further. That is not an accident. That is what coordinated institutional accumulation looks like in real time. When smart money draws a line in the sand, it rarely moves. And so far, this one has held through some of the most intense macro pressure we have seen in years. But defense is only half the story. The real excitement in a setup like this happens when the powder keg meets a match. And on Friday, March 13th, we got a proof of concept for the upside thesis. We had called out the $22 threshold as a gamma trigger, meaning that if the price crossed that level, options dealers would be mechanically forced to buy shares to hedge their exposure, creating a feedback loop of buying pressure. And that is precisely what happened. The stock gapped up to $21.76 and vaulted to a high of $22.76 on a massive surge of 80 million shares of volume. That is not retail hype. That is the powder keg going off. And when you see a move like that driven by mechanics rather than sentiment, it tells you the setup is structural, which means it can happen again and likely with even more force. Now, if you only looked at the closing price of $20.54 on Friday, you might think the breakout failed. You would be wrong, and here is why. Context is everything. On that same Friday, the Dow hit a new low for 2026. Oil surged past $100 per barrel due to escalating conflict in the Middle East. And the VIX, the market's fear gauge, was spiking toward 27. In that environment, almost everything was being sold indiscriminately. The fact that BMNR closed nearly flat while its peers were tumbling is not a failure. That is a demonstration of extreme relative strength. Micro-level resilience fighting macro-level gravity. When a stock refuses to go down during a market-wide flush, it is telling you something important about the underlying demand. The buyers are not leaving. So, what is actually driving that demand at the fundamental level? This is the part most people miss entirely. Bitmine has executed what they call the Alchemy of 5% strategy, which has made them the world's largest corporate Ethereum treasury. They now hold 4.535 million ETH. To put that in perspective, that is 3.76% of the entire global supply of the world's second-largest cryptocurrency. And just last week, management signaled their absolute conviction by executing their largest weekly purchase of the year, over 60,000 ETH valued at roughly $120 million. Let me ask you this. Does that sound like a management team that is nervous about their position? Or does it sound like a team that believes they are buying the bottom of a generational asset cycle? Because from where I am sitting, that is not uncertainty. That is conviction. But here is what separates BMNR from every other crypto treasury play on the market, and this is the hidden metric that changes the entire valuation picture. They are not just sitting on that ETH like a digital gold bar collecting dust. They are putting it to work. Right now, 3.04 million ETH is staked and already generating $174 million in annualized revenue. And in Q1 of 2026, they are launching something called the MAVAN, the Made in America Validator Network. This is the catalyst. This is the event that is projected to jump their total annualized revenue to $259 million. They are converting a passive treasury into a high-yield, cash flow-generating machine. Do you know how many companies in the crypto space have actually figured out how to monetize their holdings at scale? Almost none. BMNR is doing it in real time. And the valuation math at current prices is where this gets almost absurd. BMNR is currently trading at a price-to-book ratio of 0.8 times. What that means in plain English is that the market is currently mispricing this company so badly that you are buying $1 of liquid hard assets, actual ETH, Bitcoin, and cash reserves on the balance sheet, for only 80 cents. You are getting the business, the employees, the technology, and all of that future revenue for free. You are getting a 20% discount on the money in the vault just for showing up. When have you ever been able to buy $1 for 80 cents with unlimited upside attached to it? That is the core of this trade. And if you still think this is purely a crypto play, management just gave you a reason to think much bigger. They have taken a $200 million stake in Beast Industries and led a $125 million funding round for 8Co Holdings, also known as ORBS. These moves exposed the balance sheet to the exponential growth of artificial intelligence infrastructure, including the OpenAI ecosystem and next-generation AI hardware. They are using their massive Ethereum treasury as a springboard to become a powerhouse across two of the highest growth sectors on the planet simultaneously. The question is not whether that strategy is bold, it is whether you think AI and crypto have a future. If your answer is yes, then BMNR at current prices is a gift. Now let me show you who else thinks so. While retail investors were panicking and selling over the last few months, the smart money was quietly loading the truck. ARK Invest has established a massive $387 million stake, making BMNR their 12th largest position. Vanguard and JPMorgan have both initiated 9-figure positions, but the number that stopped me cold is Bank of America. They increased their position by 1,668%, not 16%, 1,668%. When an institutional giant increases their bet by 16 times, they are not positioned for a 5% pop. They are positioning for a full regime change in how this company is valued. Follow the money. It is pointing in one direction. Let me walk you through the specific price action from the past week so you can see how the thesis played out. On March 12th, the stock slid 3% because the market was digesting that $125 million investment into ORBS. Investors got nervous about capital being deployed outside of pure ETH reserves. But by March 13th, sentiment completely flipped. The market processed the strategic value of the AI pivot. Activity surged 183%. And BMNR became the 41st most traded stock in the entire United States. That is an extraordinary amount of attention, converging on one ticker in a single session. And the fuel behind that move, The short interest and the options positioning is still very much loaded. Here is the technical picture for the week ahead. Short interest remains elevated above 6% of the float, which is combustible material if we break resistance. On the March 20th options expiry, there is a massive concentration of call options stacked at the $22 and $23.50 strike prices. We are seeing a 68% bullish bias across 1.41 million contracts. If the price moves back toward $22, those call sellers are mathematically forced to buy shares to hedge, creating a mechanical feedback loop that could send this thing vertical very quickly. The setup has not reset, it has reloaded. Before I provide my analysis on next week's trading plan, I want to give you an important reminder like always. Everything discussed in this video is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing here constitutes financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Investing in individual stocks, especially in the cryptocurrency and technology sectors, carries significant risk, including the potential loss of your entire investment. Always do your own research. Consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Smart Stock. SAM is an educational channel, not a financial advisory service. All right, here's the roadmap for the week. We are currently sitting in what I am calling the blue zone, the accumulation range between $20 and $20.50. This aligns with the classic pivot point and gap support from Friday's session. Below us, we have support at $20.06, and then that ultimate institutional floor at $18.68. To the upside, the $22 gamma trigger remains the key level. Clear that, and the next major resistance wall does not appear until $23.92. That is the path of least resistance if the buyers show up. And there is one specific macro event this week that could be the match that lights the entire fuse: the FOMC meeting on March 18th. Markets are currently pricing in a 90% probability that rates remain steady. A hold decision from the Fed, especially with any hint of a dovish tone going forward, could ignite a risk-on rally across the board and create a perfect storm for an asset like BMNR. Our base case price target for the week is $22 to $23.50. If we get a dovish Fed outcome combined with an ETH breakout above key resistance, the bull case extends to $25 and above. And for those of you who want to know what the Wall Street analysts are saying, Cantor Fitzgerald and B. Riley are significantly more aggressive, with price targets ranging from $30 to $39. I am not saying we get there this week, but I'm asking you, what does it feel like to be on the right side of a move like that before it happens? This is the synthesis. BMNR is a strong buy. You have downside protection from a sub-1 times price-to-book ratio and an institutional floor at $18.68. You have a yield engine generating real annualized revenue. You have AI diversification into two of the hottest sectors on the planet. You have institutional heavyweights who have already voted with 9-figure and 10-figure positions. And you have a gamma-loaded options chain sitting on top of a coiled technical setup heading into a major macro catalyst. The accumulation zone is $20 to $20.50. The clock is ticking before March 18th. Now for the real question I want to leave you with. Drop your answer in the comments below. If BMNR clears that $22 gamma trigger ahead of the FOMC on March 18th, what is your price target by end of week? I read every single comment, and I want to hear your thesis. If this breakdown gave you an edge today, smash that like button and help this video rank on YouTube Hype Leaderboard. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more investors who need this kind of data-driven analysis. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a setup like this again. This is Smart Stock Sam, and I will see you in the next one.